Hello Puzzleverse! In the first episode of this mini-series, I answered 16 questions related to puzzling. For the next 3 episodes, I have decided to ask the same questions to 3 other puzzlers so I can get to know them better. This is also a great chance to see how other people's collections look like. If you're curious and excited like me, then let's jump right in! Hello Richard! Thank you very much for taking some of your free time. Would you like to quickly introduce yourself first? Where are you from? What do you do?
Sure. My name is Richard Baker. I live in Eastern North Carolina in the United States. I am a museum conservator. I work at a mid-sized museum focusing on colonial history in the United States. And I work primarily with furniture and objects class and statues, that sort of thing.
Maybe like this part of being in a museum put you like on this journey of puzzling. We will get to know that more later maybe. On the first episode of this series, I answered some fun puzzle-related questions, and I thought it would be nice to find out your answers to the same questions. So we can start with some basic questions. And the first question is, how did you get into puzzling?
Well, I've been doing puzzling probably most of my life, starting with jigsaw puzzles with my family. But the puzzling that I'm doing now started really in September of 2018 when Hurricane Florence was bearing down on Eastern North Carolina. We had to flee, like many people, because it was a pretty high caliber storm. So I went to a friend's house in Virginia, and since they had some of it up there too, spent a lot of time on YouTube. And I discovered Mr. Puzzle and watched a lot of his videos and thought, hey, this is something maybe I could do. So that, along with some of my training as a museum conservator, especially with furniture, working with hidden compartments, secret features, the two kind of merged together. So when we returned from evacuation, I started buying Jean-Claude Constantine puzzles and other puzzles from different manufacturers, and that's how it got started, and I've been doing it since.
Okay, that's a very nice story. A good way to start puzzling. And so, do you have a favorite type of mechanical puzzle?
Well, my favorites are the Jean-Claude Constantine, what I started with. I don't have as many of those because they are a little more expensive, but I love the cut, the laser cut wood, the use of marbles, magnets, and I love the solves. They're really good. And they're beautiful puzzles. You can put other things inside of them.
Yeah, that's true. They are very neat and very enjoyable to solve. So, is it your favorite designers then?
Yes, the Jean-Claude Constantine would be my favorite designers. I also like the Vesa puzzles through Hanayama and some of his puzzles in other areas. He's done work for many different companies. He's got a very definitive mind, which I enjoy working with.
Yeah, he does very nice puzzles as well. And maybe you have one dream puzzle, like something that if you could have a chance to own it or to try it, which one will it be?
Wow, that's quite a question. Probably a larger size puzzle, one of those sequential discovery puzzles that you see on, say, your channel or Chris Ramsey's or some of the others. Those are quite interesting.
Yeah, maybe one day you will have this opportunity. I wish you will have, because they can be very interesting, yeah, especially when they are made out of real furniture. Sometimes there are very good designers who do that. They use an actual furniture and just transform it as a puzzle as well, which is very fantastic. So you were mentioning a friend earlier. And so is it your puzzler friend, or do you have any other friends that also enjoy puzzles?
Well, there's nobody around here that does puzzles with me. I just do this by myself.
So for the next question, I will ask you to identify a puzzle from your collection. You can show us if you have it with you. And the first question is, what is your favorite puzzle so far?
So far, my favorite is the Viking box by Jean-Claude Constantine. It's a beautiful box. The top of it, the solve, it's like a pinball machine. You have to move a lot of pieces and marbles around. Unfortunately, it only took me 22 minutes to solve it, which is pretty fast for me. It's very large. It's about this big. Okay. I thought it was this big. The 2-in-1 puzzle, also by Jean-Claude Constantine, that requires solving a puzzle on top of the box before you can get into the box. In fact, you need things from the top to get into it. And so that's a very interesting solve, and it's a beautiful puzzle, colorful pieces.
Okay, so I guess you will show them to
We'll
us
show
later.
them.
Yeah? Okay, perfect. Is there a puzzle that you didn't enjoy solving?
Yes, there are a couple of those. Hanayama's Delta took 3 minutes,
Okay.
4 times in a row. There's something wrong with that puzzle. It's too easy. It shouldn't be a Hanayama.
Yeah, yeah.
Certainly not worth what I paid for it.
Yeah, I think sometimes you put an expectation on a puzzle and you manage to solve it much faster than you thought, and it's a bit deceiving in a way. Maybe among all the puzzles that you have, is there one or maybe more puzzles that you cannot solve?
Oh yes. Currently I'm working on Cast Cyclone, which just came out in November in Japan, December everywhere else. And that's very hard. And some of the bird puzzles, I own a couple bird puzzles, not the really intricate ones, but these are the ones you could buy at a kiddie store. They are very difficult, and I can't get them back together. And there's one called Vegas Baby, my Melody puzzles, and I can't get that back together because it's a dice, but there's 2 different color dots, and it's just, I find that all these puzzles work on different thinking mechanisms of the brain, and that must be one that I am just not good.
Yeah, some can be very unique, and once you find out how they work, it can be just, wow, an amazing discovery. But I hope you will be able to solve them very soon. And so, maybe there is a puzzle that took you the longest to solve.
Which that would be Hanayama's UFO. UFO took 28 hours total. When I got to 20 hours, a friend of mine online tasked me the directions on how to solve it. And even with those instructions, which if I hadn't had those, I would still be working on it a year and a half later. But even with those instructions, it still took me a long time. I mean, 4 or 5 more hours to get it apart. And then putting it back together only took 5 minutes because I numbered the pieces as they came out. If I go beyond 28 hours, then I'm in trouble.
Yeah, these little Hanayama puzzles can be very challenging. And that's why I think they have sometimes, most of the time, a good value for money, because you will spend a lot of time enjoying the process of solving these puzzles. And so, is there a puzzle, or maybe more puzzles, that you are solving right now?
Well, right now, so I'm working on technically 3, but one's a jigsaw puzzle, so it's that time of year. But there is, currently I'm doing the Central box by Jean-Claude Constantine. It's a drawer that opens, but it's based on a marble configuration. And then Cast Cyclone by Hanayama. And then after that, I've got a padlock and 3 additional Hanayamas. Usually because I work and because I do other hobbies such as woodworking and painting, puzzles doesn't occupy all of my time. And so a puzzle can last me a couple, 3 minutes if it's Delta, or a couple months as Cyclone is done. So I usually buy a bunch of puzzles and they're good for up to 6 months.
That's good. Yeah, I think puzzling is not a rush thing to do. It's really just take your time, enjoying it as much as possible.
These people that can do 5 puzzles in a weekend, I have other things to do. So usually 1 per weekend, and then I do something else.
And so, is there a puzzle that you want to solve before the year ends?
Before the year ends, I don't really work that way. I'm sort of, I mean, Cyclone, but I just take them as they come. Sometimes we're traveling and I see a puzzle that I want, I buy it, and do it when I get back home. But yeah, I don't look for puzzles. Occasionally Hanayama will come out with one, and I have a friend in Japan who lets me know when they come out, when the prototypes come out.
Okay, that's good. That's good that you have this kind of person that will tell you which puzzles are coming. That's very nice. Now, yeah, that's good to just take puzzles as you want, I guess, once you see them and you think they are nice ones. But yeah, no goals to just, you have to get this one and finish it as fast as possible. Yeah, I agree with that. And so, is there a puzzle that you recommend to complete beginners?
Yes. For complete beginners, for Hanayama puzzles, I really liked Flag. I thought that's a level 1. I thought it had enough challenge to at least get you to think, get you to move some parts around. But just the idea that there were different routes you could take, movements that you had to make, I thought that was a very nice level 1 puzzle. I'm trying to think for Jean-Claude Constantine puzzles, if you want to go that direction, I have a few of those. And the Einstein box is a nice one to start with. It's a very simple mechanism, but took me a while to figure it out. It was a good way to kind of get you going on the mechanics of how a simple puzzle box can work.
And so now that we have seen a sneak peek of the puzzles that you enjoy, we would love to see the rest. Do you want to give us a round of your puzzle collections on maybe something that you're working on?
Certainly. So because I'm a woodworker, I had decided to, as I bought puzzles, where do you put these things? I mean, some people put them on a wall display, some people put them in a cabinet. Let's see, in 2018 I started. In 2019, I went to a museum in Virginia and I saw a little apothecary. Very basic little, it's probably about this big. It had two compartments on either side and a little space in the middle with books. And I really liked that concept. And of course, the museum had a no photography rule, and I, being a museum professional, obeyed that. So I went home later, I went back to my hotel room and I sketched out what I remembered. And so I decided I was going to build it. And I could only really replicate the outside of it because that's all I had seen. So the inside was completely up to me. And so what I ended up building was a sequential discovery puzzle with actually 2 games inside. The solving of the box itself, plus there's another sequence inside as well. And that stores most of my puzzles. This is the apothecary. You have the 2 cabinets and the books in the middle. As I said, this is a sequential order. So sequential discovery, there are about 4 or 5 tools in here as you go through the process. What we do is we take all the books out. I leave this little antique book that I have. I keep that in there. That was actually given to me by a former conservator. This is about the size of the books that were in the original. So this is homage to the original piece. That would be, we'll reach up in here. There's a drawer that comes out. This is your first tool. The construction of this thing is actually dowels. Dowels on the front, dowels on the sides. And so this tool will actually push 2 fake dowels. So you probably can't see this. This is a painting that I did. It's based on a Bob Ross painting tutorial. And up in this corner, there's a little windmill. And so the person who's solving this may not see that, but it's there. And so as you go through this thing, you're actually going to get closer to the windmill. The windmill is your goal. Of course, you don't know that when you start. The inside of this keeps some of the flat puzzles, such as waiter's tray, double trouble. So that's the first part. Know that if you don't follow the sequence, you're not going to get to the end. So you'll see that as we go through that. Pull out this key. We have a compartment full of puzzles. One of these, as we go through, in most cases, the keys to get to the next step are inside of the puzzle boxes. However, for the video, I've stuck it just somewhere. So you get your second tool. The way this tool works, it's a little eye hook, and these are pegs with a little nail. So they're just pulling them out. What this is this miniature desk and bookcase. The bookcase part has actual Hanayama puzzles inside. The reverse This is another painting, getting closer to the windmill. This is a Frank Clark tutorial. All the paintings are based on tutorials because I feel that a piece should reflect where you are in your woodworking life. And so painting tutorials is what I was doing then, and still am. An additional thing to note, inside this piece, there is a knob with a magnet on it. We will need that later. Back in here behind, there's a box, and the box is a key. More puzzles. One thing I keep in here sometimes are the next puzzles I'm going to do. So these are the next pranayama puzzles for me. This is H&H ring to Liuf egg, I believe. Normally, so this is a bunch of Constantine puzzles and some other puzzle boxes. And out of one of those will be a set of keys. So the next thing I need to empty this side. Because of course, though we have both the cabinets open and we have the middle open, we're not finished. We have not made it to the window. Back behind here is a panel with a key for the lock. Another painting. This is getting closer to the windmill. This is based on a James Gurney outdoor painting. Actually, this is my original based on his style. Now, back here we have 3 shelves with different puzzles on them. In some cases, some of the puzzle boxes have additional puzzles inside. This is how I'm able to fit 49 puzzles in here. There's a string back here. This is the only hidden drawer in the box. And it's also my nameplate. This gives me all the information, where I made this, when. Now, that secret drawer was originally supposed to be the end of it. But I decided to do one more thing. Because I am inspired by the work of the Rorigen father and son from many centuries ago, as well as the work of Silas Cope and Craig Thibodeau, I wanted something mechanical in here. And perhaps some of this is already mechanical, but I wanted something that if I pushed a button or pulled something, there would be a response. So I need to empty this one. This is the Viking box, the one that is my favorite. A lot of stuff going on up there. So had a lot of space inside. So it's a great place to store stuff. Remember the knob? That goes right there. Pull it down. See that? But there is a secret compartment. Last secret compartment. And the actual windmill. The windmill is a Matthew Palmer. In fact, of the 4 paintings, I did the Matthew Palmer first and decided to incorporate the windmill into all the other paintings.
That's really an incredible work, Richard. That's so amazing what you could have reproduced just by trying to replicate something from a museum. I have a question about the first one. Why the windmill?
No, actually, the windmill is based on a book that Matthew Palmer did. Just, watercolor for the absolute beginner. And so I was looking for 4 paintings to do. Originally, some of the books that were in here, you probably didn't see it quick enough. Some of those were mountain climbing books, specifically about Mount Everest. And so the original intent of the paintings were going to be, the big painting was going to be Mount Everest, and with some numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so they were going to designate 4 points on the mountain, with the 4th, of course, being the summit. And so as you climb the mountain, you go through the ice fall, you go up the Lhotse Pass, and you would eventually get to the summit. You knew that's where you were going. But then I decided that the mountain climbing thing didn't really work for a puzzle. So I thought a more interesting and more fun way of doing it would be to do painting lessons, because I'm a beginner painter, and So I knew that if I'm following a painter doing a lesson, that if it doesn't look good, it doesn't matter. And so I started with the Matthew Palmer because I wanted to try, and this was my second Matthew Palmer at the time. I wanted to try this picture of a windmill, but I just focused on the windmill. It came out, to me so well that I thought, this is what the rest of the paintings are going to be based on. We'll just do the Frank Clark is a walk through a park, and then I put the windmill in the background. The Bob Ross I had actually already painted, and then I just put it in a spot where I could find it. And so it looks like you're actually going around the lake to get to the windmill. And then the James Gurney, the one that's on the back of the panel, which was painted in gouache, the path there is actually in my backyard, and I just had to figure space and time as to how close the windmill would be. So really, the use of the windmill is not something special about windmills. I do enjoy windmills, but this was because the first painting came out so well out of a windmill that I thought this, the lights went on, and I thought, here's something sequential that we could go towards.
So you show us more of your collection, and are you more like a puzzle hoarder? So you keep all the puzzles that you get, or are you a recycler? You will give maybe puzzles to your family, or you will sell them?
I guess I'm a puzzle hoarder. I guess I haven't been doing this long enough to have an extensively huge collection, although it has been pointed out to me, what are you going to do in a couple of years when you just have a bunch of puzzles sitting around? You've done them all, but what are you going to do now? But I have found that when I do a puzzle once, put it aside, I might get it out in 6 or 7 months, and it's not as easy as it was the first time. To me, not the puzzle boxes, but the Hanayama puzzles have a lot of replay value, which is why I like them, that you can buy them and do it once, put them aside, wait a couple months, do them again, see if your time is better. Is it getting faster? Is it taking longer? Is it more complex? Slider, that is one that I've done that's very tricky. Very simple, but very tricky. So because these things have a lot of play value, I just keep them. And like I said, I don't know anybody around here to pass them off to. My wife, she looks at them and she says, these would give me a headache. So I guess I'm becoming a puzzle collector. What I will do with them, in the coming years when I get bored with them, I'm not there yet, so I'm not worried about it.
I think you made it clear a bit earlier, but you are solving more than one puzzle at a time, right? So you are not a puzzle monogamist, but a polygamist, we will say.
That's an interesting way of putting it. Actually, I usually only do one puzzle at a time. Okay. I'm doing 3 right now because the jigsaw puzzle was a gift. So I started that, and I've been working on that for weeks. I work on it when I feel like it's on a table downstairs, and I work on it when I want. The central box I started one night because I wasn't getting anywhere with the Cyclone, but I haven't picked it up since. So I am sort of, if I'm working on one puzzle, I like to work on one at a time. But if it takes a long time to do it, I might take a break and pick up maybe an older puzzle. I usually won't pick up a brand new. Those 3 Hanayamas that are still in their boxes will probably remain in their boxes until Cyclone is finished. Okay,
so now we will go to the last section. So there are 2 final questions. If you are given $100 to buy a puzzle tomorrow or in the week, which one will you get?
Oh, I don't know how much it costs, but that one that's based on the Louvre, I believe, that you did in a video.
Yeah.
Ago, I would probably buy that one or something like that. But, watching your video, I watched that and I thought to myself, if I got this puzzle like right now, I still wouldn't really know what he just did. And so if I waited a couple weeks, I would have no clue. Another one is Titan. I can never remember the name of the guy who does that. He's done some others, the same type. And I watched the Mr. Puzzle video, and it stumped Mr. Puzzle. And he described how it did. I said, if I had that puzzle, I would have no clue what he just did. So I would grab one of those because I know they would take a while to figure out.
Yeah, there are good choices as puzzles to try, for sure. And so, if you can go to another country to buy puzzles, where would you go?
Germany.
Okay.
Now, of course, I don't know the language and passports and all that stuff, but I assume that's where the Constantine puzzles are from, unless that's just a name and they're actually produced somewhere else. You know, I mean, I would say here in the United States, we don't have a lot of puzzle stores. There is no huge puzzle master here, or some of the other stores that I see. You know, you have to go online for all that kind of stuff. So yeah, somewhere like that.
Okay, that's very interesting. Well, Richard, I hope that you will be able to visit this place maybe one day, and that you will get the opportunity to visit these stores. Thanks again for your time and generously showing us your collection, your puzzle projects, and sharing a little bit of yourself, and it was fun getting to know you.
Good being here.
And that was Richard's story. What an interesting person and such a beautiful puzzle collection. If you did enjoy this first episode and you did enjoy Richard's puzzles, then let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and to subscribe to the channel. I see you next week for a new video. Tschüss!